What is up, everyone? Michelangelo here. And today I felt really moved to share my message, to share my story, to share my heart, to share my experience, and to illuminate how I personally went from pain to purpose, how I went from fear to faith, how I went from being in the lowest of the low to experiencing some of the highest joys I never could have imagined were possible. And with that, I will like to take you back. Well, before I do that, I just want to let you know where I'm at right now. Right now, I'm about 25 years old. I am a spiritual development and men's empowerment coach. And the reason why I do this work is because of the path, the dark night of the soul that I had to go through to get to where I am today. And I really almost didn't make it through. And that's why I'm sharing this. That I know there's other men out there who are where I was and that need to hear this. So I would say when I was 17, so about 8 years ago, I started to experience severe depression, thinking about suicide nonstop, every day, all day. And, at that time, I was ending high school. I wasn't sure, I was starting to wake up, right? And a lot of us what I mean by that is a lot of us who start to see beyond the cultural paradigms that we're fed and see that there is, a lot of, darkness and pain and corruption in our human society. And I started to wake up to that, which was disconcerting. I came from a traumatic family background, alcoholic parents, and things of that nature. But when I was 17 and graduating high school, a friend of mine who I was really just beginning to become friends with him, but he was within my friend group. And one of my best friends, I would say my best friend, James, was really close with him. They were like this. So that year, this person that I'm talking about, his name is Liam, he ended up getting hit by a subway train, an express train in New York City on his birthday. And he was drunk at the time. And my friend group was kind of like the party, reckless kids, And so I was supposed to pick him up from the train station on his birthday with my best friend, James. So we're hanging out in Wendy's parking lot, nonetheless, 2013. And we're waiting, and things start to feel weird. No one's answering us, and we start to see these things on the news, on News 12, like on our phones, online. We're just like Googling, and someone sees that someone was hit by an express train. It was like breaking news. And I remember looking at that and not even thinking, glimpsing, like running past it, moving past it, and be like, oh yeah, no, didn't even think about it. But we found out a few hours later that was actually Liam. And I'll never forget the impact that had on me and the people that I loved. And seeing my 17-year-old friends completely shattered and broken, it was hard. And that there was no grieving process. There was no tools. I didn't know how to deal with that. No one did, I would say. I feel safe saying that. I feel in integrity saying that. I certainly did not know how to deal with that. I was never given those emotional tools. I was taught to, I was conditioned to chase girls and act cool. I was not in touch with my emotions at that time. And that same year, my girlfriend at that time cheated on me. It was like my first relationship, and so it spiraled this severe depression that was already kind of under the surface looming. It was already there, but those things really brought it to the surface. And the next 6 years, were mired in extreme addiction to alcohol, marijuana, some pills, various, different substances here and there. And it was really dark. And, on the surface, it looked like I had it all together, right? And I was just really good at playing a role. And I think many men are. And it got so painful to the point where I couldn't leave my room at one point. After a few years, when I got towards my 20s, there was a point where I couldn't leave my room because of how anxious I was. I couldn't be seen by people. I was so scared of being seen, and my narrative was so aggressive towards myself. Like if I was walking down the road and someone waved at me and I didn't wave back, I would like fucking berate myself and curse myself out and like things like that. So I just couldn't be seen. I couldn't even like walk my dog. And I couldn't go for more than a couple hours without getting high. My biggest addiction was marijuana. For me, that's a real drug for me. It was really destructive. And I could just sit there for hours and hours and think about how much I hated myself. And just night after night, writhing in pain, right? And in 2016 of October, I got a phone call. And I was doing my thing at my cousin's house, smoking weed, hitting the bong, and watching him play video games while I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck am I here? Why am I doing this? And I was already like very spiritually aware at that time, and I just knew I wasn't living a life that was aligned with me. I knew it. I just didn't change it. I couldn't change it. I chose not to change it. I was in too much pain. And I got a phone call from my sister, and she told me that James, my best friend who I had mentioned earlier, my best friend of 18 years, he was the closest thing I ever had to a brother. We were essentially raised together. Our families were raised together. And I got a call that he committed suicide. And it was like this wave. It was like this fucking wave just crashed on me. And I literally like woke out of a slumber is what it felt like. And I couldn't speak. All I was saying was what the fuck, and I was just for like an hour, and I couldn't speak. And it felt like a wave hit, a literal like a ocean wave crashed on me, and my entire reality was changed. And I realized that this is fucking real. That this is real. That depression, it is a disease. It's a real disease. And many people experience it. Most people do. It doesn't have to be to this level, but most people experience this sort of like existential depression or sense of like meaningless, right? Mine and James's just happen to be more severe, more polarized. And at that moment, James actually gave me a gift. As counterintuitive as that sound, as painful as it was, I wouldn't, obviously if there was a way that he could have been here without living in that pain, that's what I would want for sure. And I wish it didn't have to be this way, but that's what happened. And he gave me a gift through that, because that's when I started to take my emotional health seriously. And The first time that I really asked for help, that's what it took for me to ask for help. My best friend committing suicide. That's what it took. That's how deep the fucking outdated masculine paradigm of emotions are weakness. I didn't even think that consciously, but it was written within my mind, my subconscious mind. And that's what it took for me to really wake up and ask for help. And I made a vow to myself. At that moment, something clicked. My purpose, a part of my purpose for being on this earth, revealed itself to me. And James, I thank you, James, for that. He helped to show me that. And at that moment, I swore to myself that I would find a way to heal this within me. I swore, and I knew that when I did, I would fucking turn around and give a hand to the people who were like me, who went to therapist office and couldn't get help, who took pills, antidepressant pills, and didn't get better. I actually took antidepressant pills and they made me more suicidal, and I couldn't stop drinking, so I would just black out because I was addicted to alcohol and drugs. So they don't factor that in when they give you antidepressants if you have addiction, you know. You can't give someone antidepressants who has addiction. It's not a good mix. But anyway, I went through all the traditional routes, and I ended up, after that, going into a psych ward because I was just scared for my life and I didn't know what to do. And they basically shoved pills down my throat and pushed me out the door. And, you know, I had a dream of a vision of James when I was in that psychiatric ward. And I say it was a vision because I've never had a dream like that. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a dream. It was a completely different quality and texture. It was a literal, like, revelation. And he came to me and he was surrounded by light. And he was in this, we were in this baseball field. We used to play like Little League together or whatever. And he was wearing this gray suit and he had his little smile, his little like side smirk. Any of my friends, if you guys watch this, you know what I'm talking about. And he was smoking a Newport because he used to smoke cigarettes. And he just had this radiance about him. He went back to source. That was the message. Like, he was at home. And what I feel the message now looking back was that he was telling me, like, I went to touch him and to hug him and he wouldn't let me. And shortly after that, I woke up. And what is coming through for me now, what is landing for me with that, the message of that, what I feel, is that he was telling me, like, through that, like, no, don't do what I did. Don't join with me just yet. Stay here and show people that you can embody this light in the physical. You don't have to live in pain. Depression is curable. Anxiety is curable. Addiction, you can heal it. And you can live in the light. Not that we don't look at our shadows. The bigger the light, the bigger the shadow. But that we can live. We don't have to swim in that. We don't have to drown in our pain. We can turn our pain into purpose. And, you know, I woke up crying, and I got many synchronicities from him during that time, and I still do. And it started me on my path towards sobriety. I got sober. I'm over 2 years sober now from all substances, aside from the occasional coffee, you know. And I can honestly say to you that I've healed my depression 100 fucking %. Like, it's not a doubt in my mind that the reason why I'm sharing this is because if I can do that, anyone can. If I can go through what I went through with depression and be that low, it couldn't have been any lower, else I would not be here anymore, honestly. And I can be at this point now where my life, like, it's beyond what I ever could have fucking imagined, and I'm only just beginning. I truly, truly mean that. I mean that. The experiences of pure love and astonishment and bewilderment and connection and love and community that I've experienced, I never would have thought. I never would have thought. And if there's a message that I can give to people who resonate with this, who are in that position of being chained to their bed, not being able to get up, not being able to put down a substance, not being able to look at themselves in the mirror, hating themselves, is that there is a way out, and it doesn't have to take the rest of your life. I swear to you, it doesn't. Now, I'm not saying that therapy is bad. I'm not saying antidepressants are bad. I'm not saying any of that is bad. That is super necessary for a lot of people. And there is so many other tools and amazing modalities that we can employ to permanently raise our emotional baseline and strengthen our emotional health. Not that I don't experience sadness, I experience the full range of human emotions, but I can navigate those waters and they do not drown me. And in my experience, living through the contrast of darkness and light, for me, not that this is an absolute truth, but for me, experiencing those depths of despair have increased my capacity for joy, bliss, and love. And that you, if this is landing for you and this resonates with you, I am here for you. I am here to support you. I can't do the work for you, but I can hold out a hand and grab onto you and be with you on your journey, your rise, your path to yourself, because that's what I believe depression is. I believe that it is a calling from the soul to come down and manifest through us, and that really pain is a doorway to purpose. I keep saying that, but it is the truth for me. That is my truth. And I'm here to steward in the process of moving through that for people. And with that, if you know anyone who is going through any of the things that I mentioned, specifically if they're men, I'm here to support men right now. That's what I'm being called to. And if you could please share this with a man who needs to hear this, I would appreciate it, and I think they would too. And please, take what works for you and leave the rest. You don't have to resonate with everything I said, but this is who I am. This is where I came from, and this is where I am now. My name is Michelangelo. If you've been with me this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And deep, deep, deep love and peace to all of you.